When setting up our second practice problem here and reading through the question, you'll have to figure out what piece of information we're given. Are we given the P, that dominant allele in the population? Are we given the recessive allele? Are we given, one of the P squared or 2PQ or Q squared? Are we given an actual genotype? So let's read through the question and see if we can decipher what we have. In a population of 1,000 rabbits, some rabbits have black fur and some have white fur. Black fur is dominant and white fur is recessive. 490 of the rabbits have white fur. So it gives us a number of the rabbits that have white fur, but it doesn't tell us how many have a certain allele. So we don't know our p-value or our q-value yet, but what we do know is that 490 of the rabbits have white fur, and white fur is recessive. So the only way to have white fur is if both copies of your alleles are recessive for that fur color. So we know that 490 of the rabbits have the Q2 genotype, that homozygous recessive genotype. So we need to turn this 490 out of 1,000 into our decimal to work with this equation. So let's do that. 490 white fur divided by 1,000 rabbits total in the population gives us a value of 0.49. So our Q2 value, Q squared rather, equals 0.49. So to get Q, so we now know Q squared. To solve for Q, we take the square root. So Q equals the square root of 0.49. And if you plug that into a calculator, you'll find that Q equals 0.7. So now we've solved for Q squared, 0.49, and Q, 0.7. Once we have this Q value, we can plug back into P plus Q equals 1. P plus 0.7 equals 1, so P equals 0.3. We now have P value of 0.3 and a Q value of 0.7, and with those two pieces of information, we can plug into the rest of the P squared plus 2PQ plus Q squared. So P squared equals 0.3 squared. And if you plug that into a calculator, you get 0.09 for our value of P squared. 2PQ equals 2 times 0.7 times 0.3. And this gives us a value of 0.42. And then we already discovered that our Q squared value is 0.49. If you were to use a calculator to add all three of these up, it would equal 1, which is a nice double check to make sure that we have everything set up. So now that we've solved for everything, let's write it out neatly so we can keep track of what everything is. So P, which is our total number of dominant alleles, we had a value of 0.3, which equals 30%. So when the quiz asks for what percentage, we're going to put this percentage in as 30%. Our Q value, which is our recessive allele, equals 0.7, which is 70%. So 70% of the alleles in the total population are recessive alleles. Our P squared value, which is our homozygous dominant organisms, so the organisms that have the rabbits in this case, that have two dominant alleles, we had a value of 0.09, which equals 9%. I'm going to draw a separating line here for our two different equations. Our 2PQ, which represents heterozygous rabbits, was 0.42, which equals 42%. So 42% of the rabbits are heterozygous. And finally, our Q squared value, which is our homozygous recessive rabbits, had a value of 0.49, which equals 49%. So again, since I'm asking for percentages, you're going to put in the 30% for P, 70% for Q, 9%, 42%, and 49% for the homozygous dominant, heterozygous, and homozygous recessive genotypes. Hope this helps, and hope you'll be able to do the question like this on the Level Up quiz. Thanks for watching.